Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Smarter Together webinar series. I think my video is on. Yes? Okay, great. So this series connects you with important community impact projects around our state. I'm Greg McCormick, Director of the Georgia Smart Communities Challenge. Today we have with us one of our Georgia Smart teams from the City of Milton. They've been working the past year on their project, Georgia Smart project, and they'll be presenting their final outcomes from their year-long project that started last September. We do hope that you join us next Thursday as well to hear from our last Georgia Smart team, Macon-Bibb County. As an attendee today, your audio and video are automatically muted for the duration of the event. However, we will be taking your questions after the presentation section, and you can submit those written questions at any time using the Q&A area of BlueJeans. Today's presentation slides and recording are available after the webinar today. We'll make them available on our website. So our 4 Georgia Smart teams would have presented their final presentations at our fall Georgia Smart workshop, but unfortunately due to COVID, we have to do everything virtually. So we are happy to present these projects virtually throughout the month of September. So again, welcome, and please enjoy today's presentation from the City of Milton on their Smarter, Safer Routes to School project. I'd now like to welcome Michelle McIntosh Ross, Principal Planner and Project Lead, to kick off their presentation. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you so much. And thank you to Georgia Tech for accepting our project proposal and allowing us to be part of this Georgia Smart program. I am Michelle McIntosh Ross with the City of Milton, as Greg mentioned, and I want to, on behalf of the City of Milton and our project team, welcome you to our presentation today. I'm not seeing myself. Okay, here it is. Welcome you to our presentation today. Okay, so on the next slide, well, our presentation is going to be about the walking school bus. And it's an app that we're working on to assist kids to walk to school, and we'll get into a little bit more about that. Just for today's agenda, we're going to be introducing our panelists here really soon, and I'll talk a little bit about our Georgia Smart Community Program and what we plan to do with this project, and also get you acclimated with the study area so you can see how relevant this project is for our study area. Then we're going to go into the research component, what we've been finding with this project and what we hope to find once we launch and do an actual demo with kids walking to school. Also, we'll go into a little bit of the project details. You'll see a demonstration video of the app so you can get an idea of what it looks like. And then we're going to go into next steps. And then, of course, at the end, we will have question and answer. Any questions that you would have, we would be at the end talking about that. So we can go to the next slide real quick. So I am Michelle McIntosh Ross, the one at the top left. And I've been with the City of Milton for 12 years now, working primarily in long-range planning and small area planning, master plans for small areas throughout the city, more like downtown mixed-use development type projects throughout the city. And when I get into talking about the study area, you will see that the area that we're focused on for this app is one of our master planned areas, so we'll look at that. But I will have the rest of our panelists introduce themselves, and then I will get back on. So next up will be Shubha, and then Dr. Gwen and Dr. Carey.
Hi everyone, I'm Shubha Jangam. I'm a senior planner at City of Milton. I'm a trained architect and urban planner. Before City of Milton, I worked with Atlanta Public Schools as a facilities planner. So I do have little insights of how school operates and things like that. Also, my kids go to Fulton County Schools, where we are actually working this project with. And from Milton side, I've been co-leading this project with Michelle, and then I will be talking about demos and features in this presentation.
Hi, I'm Anshuman Gwen. I'm a research engineer at Georgia Tech. I work mostly in traffic operations and traffic safety. Carrie?
Hi, I'm Carrie Watkins. I'm an associate professor in civil and environmental engineering at Georgia Tech, and I do a lot of work in bikes and peds, design for them, and trying to make our communities more livable and sustainable by encouraging people to walk and bike. And I will turn it back over to Michelle.
Yes, thank you. So I just want to also add some of the project team members that are not on this call. Maybe they're attending but won't be presenting on this call. So we have with the City of Milton, our Community Development Director, Parag Agrawal, and he was the one instrumental in encouraging us to apply for this grant. So thank you, Parag. Also, our PhD student with Georgia Tech, Dr. Carey's PhD student, Reed Passmore, has been very helpful with a lot of the research, so we do want to mention him. We also had a Georgia Tech intern for the summer who helped with some of the designs in our app with the colors and whatnot. You'll see that later. Her name is Du Wei Yang. She's a graduate student. And also from ARC, Elizabeth or Lizzie Sandlin has been on all our calls and has been working with us throughout the entirety of this project. And the developer, the app developer for this app is AppZoro. Next slide. In addition to who I already mentioned, we also are working with the Fulton County Schools as instrumental partners on this project. So we've been working with the principals of the elementary, middle, and high school. And we've also been working with the superintendent, worked with her because we needed permissions on that level. And we also been working with the parent-teacher organization to help coordinate some of these things. We have community volunteers, other residents in the immediate vicinity of the schools in Milton. Of course, we mentioned Atlanta Regional Commission. We also had, besides AppZoro, we had another company who helped us with traffic data collection services. And they're called Traffic Data Services. So those are our partners with this project. Okay, so back when we thought of this proposal, we decided that based on our current, we have a project, Safe Routes to Schools, which is a GDOT project that we had done back in 2009, which helps put in infrastructure for kids to be able to walk to school easier, sidewalks, crosswalks, cross beacons, etc. Also to have a coordinator at the school to help coordinate kids, for instance, monthly or more often or not as often, but walk to school days. So we've already had that in place and we felt that we can build upon that. And this being a smart project, we can use technology to assist with helping this walk to school. So now it's a technology assisted walking to school app. Now the app in general helps parents coordinate these groups of kids on the app so that we can have stops throughout the neighborhood. Of course, this is all neighborhoods that are within a mile or a mile and a half of the school. We can coordinate these kids per each subdivision that are around the school, and we can get these groups organized to walk to the school. We did have some focus groups and whatnot, and we figured that 4 to 6 kids per each parent would work. So that's how we're driving this project. The parents are chaperones, and they would be walking with 4 to 6 kids. That group would walk to school, and then this app helps them coordinate which group and also to check off the kids that they collected as well as when they get off to school. But you'll hear some more about that when we get into showing off the app. So just wanted to talk about that real quick. And then here's a little bit about the City of Milton. It's a suburban community but also we have some significant rural equestrian areas of Milton. So 85% is single family, larger lots, multiple acre lots, including horse farms and some agriculture. The city is 39 square miles, and we have roughly 39,000 residents. And it's very family oriented and highly educated, and it's a young community. So this demographic really spoke to having a walk to school app, which is a family oriented. Now you have to get groups of kids and the neighbors have to talk to each other. So it's a socializing sort of a thing. So that really showed us that something like this would work in Milton and in this area of Milton to be able to do that. Next slide. So this is a little bit about the downtown area that we're actually working, this study area of Milton. So there are 3 schools that are located within a mile, less than a mile, of the core downtown, where Milton City Hall and Milton Library and lots of small commercial and so on that we've planned with one of our small area plans. So the schools, we have residents in close proximity, as well as lots of services. So we felt like this would be a good area to coordinate this app. As you can see from some of the images on here, some of the newly developing areas and the new infrastructure that we have for the sidewalks on that image. We also implemented signage throughout our downtown, pedestrian-oriented signage to help pedestrians. So this whole community was planned to be walkable. So it's just fitting that we're working on a walk to school app that would encourage kids to walk to school, and they would be walking right through this area. So without further ado, I would pass this on to our professor, Dr. Carey, to talk about the research, the walk to school.
Thanks, Michelle. Sorry, I'm the one driving the presentation too, so I had to get myself organized. I think I'm good now. We're going to take a step back for a minute and talk about some of the motivation to do an app like this in the first place. Nationally, only about 9.6% of kids between 5 and 18 actually walked to school in 2017. And Milton's numbers are not all that different, although you see a fantastic photo on the side of their very successful monthly walk to school day when they encourage students to do this, and they actually get much, much higher numbers. However, this is down from about 50% of kids walking to school in the 1960s. And so it's a big issue because there are a lot of benefits to walking to school, not only in less greenhouse gas emissions, reduced congestion in the school area, but also for the kids themselves. Childhood obesity is becoming an increasingly visible issue, a big issue that we need to deal with. And so increasing physical fitness by having students walk to school can help with that. And there's also been studies that have been done to show that when kids walk, when they have that physical activity early in the morning on their way to school, they actually have better academic performance. So it wakes their brains up and gets them going in ways that being driven to school is not going to do so. The literature also says a lot about why people are not walking to school. So what has been the catalyst for this change from 50% of students doing this once upon a time? The way that we cite schools has changed. So oftentimes schools are too far away, and that makes it difficult for folks to walk. Oftentimes the parents are driving, so the makeup of our families has been changing through the decades. And so oftentimes a parent is on their way to work, and so they'll drive a kid on their way to work. Sometimes there are not a lot of other children walking, and so people feel less safe, or it's not something people do, so they don't think about it. Oftentimes our communities don't have sidewalks and crossings to make the journey safe. People are driving more and more aggressively, and so people don't feel as safe walking as there are more cars on the road, people paying attention less as they're distracted by devices and things like that, and road rage kind of aggression is on the rise. And then also stranger danger, lack of supervision. So a lot of these things are things that we actually think walking school buses, and particularly technology-enabled walking school buses, might improve. So the whole goal of a walking school bus is that, as Michelle said, there's this volunteer parent who's leading a group of children to school on foot. This makes it so that all of the parents don't have to be walking the kids. They can take turns being the one to walk the kids. And speaking of which, this is Michelle walking our group of 4 on their way to school. You'll see more of that later in our video. Some of the results of this is that it actually creates a habit of walking later. So the kids start doing it with a supervisor in the elementary, possibly in the middle school years. And then as they get older, even when they have the ability to drive themselves and such, they may keep up that habit of walking back and forth because they've been doing it. It also bolsters communities, stimulates social interaction, as Michelle talked about, so it can make a more cohesive community. There's more people out and about. You're seeing other people walking to school, and it sort of creates that vibrant community. Walking school buses can have long-term sustainability issues, though. A couple of parents doing most of the logistics and leading can make it difficult for a walking school bus to continue. So if there's one parent who's walking the kids every day and others are not volunteering, that can be an issue. There may be routes that are not seen as safe, so it's important to create really good routes to get the students to school. Sometimes there's no incentive programs, so the programs might start off strong, but people don't continue. And then oftentimes you'll have a successful walk to school bus program, but as students graduate, it's not continuing on because there's no communication with drawing new parents into the group and sort of enabling them to join groups that are already existing. So those kids are not replaced as they graduate. So our goal with the research portion of this, we were trying to help the city create draft routes and a walking network so that we could look at what the routes would be that the walking school buses would take. We were trying to find key influencing factors to help them determine the likelihood that a parent would actually participate in a walking school bus. And we were trying to ensure that the app was actually responsive to the needs of Milton. So we've been working in partnership with the city the whole time in designing and working with the developers in the development of the app. A couple of our duties in all of this, we did an internet survey, and I'm going to talk about some of the results of that, where we distributed it through the school newsletter, thanks to our partners in Milton. And we ended up getting 134 parent responses, about 168 elementary and middle school students. We also did some video counts so that we can get an idea of how many people were walking to school on a typical day and on a walk to school monthly day that they highlight their walk to school once a month as a measure for before, so that we can then compare to the after situation. So to talk a little bit more about our routes, what we did was we identified a walking network for Milton by looking at where sidewalks were present or locations where there were no sidewalks, but the speed was 25 miles an hour or less. We also looked at crossings and the ability for students to get across more major streets, even if they were walking along quieter ones with lower speed limits. What we ended up was that 66% of the elementary school students and 30% of the middle school students at the Crabapple schools, and you can see the Crabapple Elementary is designated on here, the middle and the high school are right next door, that 66 and 30% of those students were within a mile and a half as the crow flies. We then looked at that network to see if we zeroed in as to network distances instead of crow flies distances, how far that would reach. And you can see part of it is that we're not getting quite as far as what we might like. but we still had quite a bit of the Crabapple area that was covered. And what we did was we geocoded the responses from our initial survey to see where the parents who are interested in the program were located. And you can see that many of them are in these areas where it's fairly easy to create groups for them to be able to walk to the school. Some of them are located in areas that when we first started the study, there weren't sidewalks, but parallel to this, the City of Milton has been working to create a more walkable community as well. So they're adding sidewalks to make it so that even these other parents who are interested would be able to join the Walk to School Bus program. The respondents were concentrated towards the denser southwestern sections well serviced by the sidewalks. So we thought that creating these routes was our best approach. And so you can see on here our initial take at creating some routes from different neighborhoods to get folks into the school from those areas that were walkable. Also from the survey, we looked at what people considered the benefits and the barriers. So on the benefits side of things, this graphic shows the percent of respondents saying that what they thought were the important benefits of being able to walk to school. And you can see that physical activity was something that registered. So the environmentally friendly, sustainable lifestyle and fun and unique could be used to sort of sell the program, but we think selling that physical activity part, that they can get their daily physical activity in just on their trip to and from school, is a good way that Milton can kind of sell this up among the parent community. We also looked at the barriers, and folks said the biggest barrier was actually the weather, which is not something that we can change with any Walk to School Bus app. However, there were a few things that we think we actually can overcome with the app, so this was a good sign. The number 2 thing that they thought was a barrier to walking to school was distracted or aggressive drivers. And it's been shown that as you have more people walking in a community, drivers pay more attention to the people who are doing so. And so we think that as the walking school bus develops and they see these groups of kids walking with the supervisors, hopefully people will pay more attention as they're driving through the neighborhood, and it will cut down on that distracted or aggressive driving. As I said, no sidewalks or crosswalks is something the city's already working on. And then these other 2, strangers and no supervision and the no one walks, are also things that we think the Walk to School Bus can help overcome. We also wanted to verify, because as we were in development for the app, our initial thought was that it made the most sense to deploy it in the elementary school, but we were also thinking towards the middle and the high school. And we found out that most parents felt pretty comfortable with their kids walking alone in high school. Middle school was kind of a mixed bag. 6th grade, the start of middle school, seems to be this big turning point when more parents, about half of the parents, felt comfortable. And then as their ages increased throughout middle school, it became more comfortable. But in 5th grade and lower than that, it was very low numbers of parents who felt comfortable with their kids walking to school alone. So we've been targeting the app initially at the elementary school, and we hope to expand to the middle school. So in conclusion, the work that we did, we were trying to create this walking network and these routes for the app itself. We found that Walk to School Day participants were actually the best pool of volunteers for the Walking School Bus app, and so they're going to use those Walk to School Days as a time to advertise to get the app promoted. And that program puts Milton in a unique position so that they can actually have a more successful Walk to School Day. So for anyone who's on the line thinking about something like this, an initial step even before an app is to get a really robust monthly Walk to School program going. We also found that there was a recognition of benefits and barriers, but those were things when we were modeling, it didn't really seem to make much of a difference. But we think they could use some of these benefits and barriers to help advertise for the program. And then the last thing is, when the app is actually released, we're going to do a follow-up survey and count again to look at what the success of it has been. So I'm going to turn it over to Shubha.
Thank you, Dr. Carey. So before as earlier been said, that our project started last year in September, and we've been moving through various phases. First few months, we were focused on research and development of apps, business requirement, and we had our first public meeting in December, and I'm going to talk about it in the next slide. Between January to April, we were busy doing our survey, our video data collection, and also preparing to get the software developer on board. So then once we got software developer, between May to July, we were actually working with him to design the app. Since August, we've been actually coding and testing the app. Besides our public engagement, we also met with Fulton County's leadership, and also met with legal counsel of the city just to get advices. So that's all we've been doing for the project. Those are the highlights. Next slide, please. So as I said, we had our first meeting December last year. We had invited parents as well as students to this meeting, and we got really valuable input from them, particularly for their operation of a monthly walk to school day. We actually got to see their day, their walking, very soon in next month in January. I'm going to show you some pictures later. And then in February, we actually did a digital survey, and we got a really good response from the crabapple parents. Then we had planned to do more meetings with parents and students, but as you know, in March, the school campuses closed and we were forced to work from home. So we didn't do any physical meetings or one-on-one meetings, but we did get to do one Zoom meeting with parents in June, and we got positive feedback saying that we are on the right track with our design of the app. So we moved ahead. We've been working on mostly all the online platforms such as Zoom, Team, Microsoft Team, or BlueJeans, and things like that. During the project, we also provided 2 internships, and we've been doing monthly reports and things like that. So next slide, please. So as I said, these are the pictures from monthly walk to school at Crabapple Crossing Elementary at Milton. And this was a cold January morning, and hundreds of kids were walking to school. Some of them were with pets, some of them were on the bike, and this was a really lively 30 minutes before the school started. And as you can see, my mouse, I don't know if you can see my mouse over this penguin. The kids who walked were rewarded with a plastic charm that they can collect, and this charm was shape of a penguin. And that's where we got our idea of mascot for this app, or the name for the app. So all this walking was already happening in this community. So next slide, please. So I mean, we all wish, how can we get more kids walking to school just like this? Instead of monthly, how can we get them walking every day? As Dr. Carey said, there are good benefits to walking to school, but there are also real challenges organizing walk to school every day. And one of them is that parents don't know who else is there willing to participate and volunteer to walk with kids. Then there is availability and flexibility issues with scheduling, And of course, all parents want peace of mind knowing that their kids are safely walking to school. So here's where technology can help us. It can ease some challenges. For example, a real-time location of the kid can be made available in app. So that was the whole motivation for the app of Walk to School Bus, and all these things became our business requirements, our technical requirements, and Dr. Gwen is going to talk more about that in next few slides. So to you, Dr. Gwen.
Yeah, thank you, Shiva. So as Shiva said, the motivation behind building the app was to provide a platform to help the organize and facilitate the walk to school trips, and the development of the app had a similar process to software development project. The surveys we did and the discussions the Milton team had with all the parents through the parent-teacher organizations and otherwise, those defined our high-level business requirements. Thus, we translated those into the functional requirements of the app. Then we went out and did a bid process to get an app developer. And once we had them on board, that's when all the rest of the things started, where we had the wireframe design done and the database design, selecting the color scheme, doing the interface, and right now we're going through the testing of the app and so on. So let me get into the development of the framework of the app. So Carrie, if you can give me the next slide. Carrie, next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So the framework development, of course, once it started with the identification of the challenges that walking school buses have, which we did through the survey, through our literature review and survey, and then we looked at what can we specifically solve with technology and with this app. So one of the things we had to worry about when we did go into technology is the data security and the privacy issues. Like when we are proposing something like giving real-time location of a person, especially those of kids, we need to make sure that our framework ensure that this data does not get into the wrong hands, or the information is not widely published. It is restricted to only those who need the information. It's and Shiva will talk more about how we did this, but at a high level, means these were important considerations about restricting access to the app, restricting access to the real-time locations of the kids. For the app performance, we had to worry about the scalability of the app, like when we are deploying it in Milton, at the beginning there will likely be very few kids and very few parents involved in it, but as things grow, and especially when we have these demand spikes, right? So the app is used for the scheduling throughout the day probably, but the tracking would be only when the trips are active. So a lot of people are trying to look at the location that they have the apps open. So we had to make sure that our framework supports this, the scaling up and down of the load, and of course the maintainability of the code, also the maintenance of and administration of the app, which we'll talk about in a second. So next slide. So there are other functionalities that we had to think about was how do we how flexible can we make this? So instead of defining the groups beforehand or having a central administrator doing all this work, we wanted to distribute the load over to the parents so that they had the complete flexibility of doing this. Like, so what the deployment on a different community, what that would involve would be somebody has to define the routes at the beginning, but that's pretty much it. Then the users, the parents, can go in and form their own groups. So the green line, the purple line you see here, those are our routes here, and the red cross marks are the stops. So those are the logical stops where the students can wait to be picked up, and are so depending on the proximity, means the groups can form automatically along a route, and so that the parents have the flexibility of adding these groups. And the scheduling is also flexible so that there is no long-term commitment that you'll have to walk on the same day of the week or all days on the week. It takes away the commitment, and people can schedule as they need it. So there is no there is no long-term commitment, so to say. So the tracking of the walking school bus seems to be something that would be very useful, where it gives peace of mind. So whenever a supervisor checks in checks in the student, a notification is sent out to the parent. When the school bus reaches the school, there is a checkout message. When the trip is live, it's possible for the parent to have a second-by-second update of the location of the person doing the supervising, so by association the location of the kids. Security was again paramount, and we had to do a filter of an email filter of all the students that are, or the email of the parents that are that they have provided to the school, that we can obtain from the school and use it for filtering out people who are not supposed to have the access to the data from the app. Next slide, please. So again, talking more about the functionalities. Once we thought about providing an easy way to communicate. So instead of looking up phone numbers of the parents, so there is a convenient call button next to the student's name. So a supervisor, if he doesn't see the student, then they can just contact the student's parents directly in the app. We also have an admin panel. So this is kind of the core thing for a new deployment, as well as maintaining and looking at the statistics. So at the beginning, when we are trying to define the routes, it's not something that you have to involve your IT team to do. You can just somebody even from the parent-teacher organization can create a KML file in Google Maps or Google Earth for the routes that they want to define. They can draw it out and upload this file in this administration panel, and it will work with the whole group of app users automatically. You can update the email list as well, and you can keep an eye on the performance metrics, like how many students you have participating and so on and so forth. This whole thing is hosted on the cloud, so there's no hardware, software maintenance requirements for the local communities. And we have the app both in iOS and Android to make it easier for all users. I'll let Shubha take over and do the demonstration.
Thank you, Dr. Wen. So now that we have finished designing, we wanted to present you a walking school bus app called Waddle. Waddle will be ready in October in iOS and Android version, as Dr. Gwen said, and the main features are grouping, scheduling, supervising, tracking, messaging, notification. As we told you, this is where we arrived. So before we deep dive into the demos, I wanted to talk about the security and privacy quickly, knowing that that would be on top of all parents' mind. We do not want anyone not associated with students to register in the app. So only the parents whose emails are registered with the school district will be allowed to register in the app. All passwords will be encrypted, and all the data will be anonymized. For the privacy, app. So that's how we're taking care of security. And yeah, we can go next slide, please. So, interested parents will register, and of course, you will sign up. And their email must exist in the school district's email list. Once that's verified, users will get one-time password for registration, and they will finish up the signing up. Then they can sign in and complete their profile, add their students. And at this time, we only want the names and grades of the students. Next slide, please. So once the parents have signed in, this is how they will see their home screen. They will have on top left, they will have main menu. On top right, they will have notification bell. And for the first time users, of course, the app, there will be a guidance in the app. And on the home screen, they will see the trip information. And this will be a reminder for them as well as a shortcut to go to the trip details or the tracking. Now they will receive, users will receive notifications, of course, for their schedules as well as other activities. And there is a messaging feature also, which will provide opportunity to communicate with supervisor. At the bottom, right below the profile picture, it will say how many trips has been taken and things like that. And at the bottom of the screen, there will be more shortcuts, and we're going to talk about them next. So the grouping was one of the shortcuts, and in this app, a group means one supervisor with 5 to 6 kids. And it's very easy to find the right group to walk with the Waddle app. And all they need to do is click on the group shortcut. And I'm going to show you a video in the next slide, but I just wanted to make a quick notes before that. So once they go to, they can find the group in the group shortcuts, and there will be a list by subdivision, and also there will be a map to select a stop that's convenient for parents. And in the database, as Dr. Gwen just explained, we have predefined routes and predefined stops. And a group is just a subset of those stops based on, we have grouped them based on the proximity of students. Next slide, please. So here I have a video to show you how you can do scheduling in the app. So you open the app on your phone, and at the bottom of the home page, there is a scheduling shortcut. Once you press on it, it will open the calendar view, and you can see the schedule. There is a toggle button that you can use to schedule as a supervisor. To create a new schedule, you have to press plus button, and that will show you the list of groups. You can select a group, and you can select the stop for your kids to walk up to, sign up the kids, and then you can have repeats selected, and then it will show up on your calendar. And you can see the various trips for different dates, or you can see your trips all together at the main menu under the trips. So that's how easy it is to create a schedule as for your kids as well as you as a supervisor. And you can cancel the trips from notifications or from the calendar as well. So once the trips are, Now once the trips are scheduled, I'm going to show you how easy it is to supervise with the Waddle. And all the supervisors are going to have start trip button. Once they press that, and they can also see the names of the students ahead of.
Shiva, can you unmute yourself?
Sorry, I thought I've been talking all this time without unmuting. After Carrie.
I think every time I start the video, it mutes you instead. So keep your finger hovered over the mute, and I'll start it.
Okay. So can you? No. Okay. So we are looking at supervising video right now. So once the supervisor clicks on the start trip button, she can walk to the different stops and pick up kids. And on her phone screen, she will see the list of students, and she can just check off the names of the students that she's picking up. Also, she will see a call button right there where she can call the parent of that student quickly from her phone. And while she's doing all this, parents are getting notifications that they're just confirming that they are being picked up and things like that. So that's how easy it is to supervise and gather up all the kids from all the stops on your way to school. And now you are seeing that she's on her way to school, and this is how the tracking screen will look like. Now you will see that the whole group is safely crossing the Birmingham Highway and entering the school campus. And that's our Crabapple Elementary, and they have reached the Crabapple Elementary. And then the notification sent to parents that the kids have arrived to school.
Can you give us the slides again?
Sorry, guys. I think my video was slower than yours for whatever reason. It was still playing, so I couldn't figure out. Okay. We're good.
Okay. I'm still not seeing the slide.
Hold on.
Okay. So that was a quick demo of our app. So we plan to engage our community more and more and improve upon our app, get their feedback, and test it out a little more and make it better. We will be glad to make it available to whoever any community that wants to test it out in their community. If you are interested, you can just partner with us and also let the schools or any other interested organization know that this kind of app is available. So we can all work together to have kids walk to school more. That's it.
Thank you so much, Shubha. That's a really awesome app that you guys have developed. And one of the questions that came in so far essentially was asking, are you guys aware of any other communities or any other schools or developers that are doing something similar in this walking to school space?
Mm-hmm.
So that might be me.
Yeah.
When we started off the project, we looked to see if this already existed to make sure we weren't duplicating someone else's efforts. We did find a couple of places where it had been tried, but it seemed to no longer be active. I believe one of them was in Utah, but we couldn't really find anything. The only one that was active was in like Spain or Italy or something like that. And so it was in another language. It was definitely not duplicative of what we were trying to do. So no, we haven't been able to find other communities where the app is actually up, running, being maintained, and is available.
And also, I think none of them really had this tracking ability. So we have some cool features here that puts the parents, gives them peace of mind. So we have some additional features there.
Yep.
Did you do any investigation into why these other apps didn't turn out? Was it lack of a feature set or lack of adoption or anything like that?
So we tried to get in contact with a couple of the communities, and I'm trying to remember what kinds of responses we got. Definitely the one that was in like Spain or Italy, it was successful. It was just the app was a little bit more limited, but the program was still running and it seemed to be working okay. The one in Utah, I don't know that we ever found out why it was that it kind of died off and was no longer supported. So that's a good question.
Kind of on the legal and safety front, another question that we had come in was, have you heard from any parents that they're concerned about potential legal or litigation issues that might occur due to a potential accident or some issue that might occur while a parent was in charge of other children?
We haven't heard any concern from any parent like that, but we did thought about that, and we worked with city's legal counsel to come up with the clarifying note or privacy and security concerns, privacy policy in the app, which will be disclosed while they sign up, when the users will sign up, so it will be more clear. And then we also thought of providing some tips about how to safely do what they were supposed to do with this app. So that's how we are trying to take care of it. I know these are legitimate concerns, and we can only learn from how things go.
Once we launch it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you all are still very much in the test phase, just to make that clear, correct?
We would have been actually, doing better than what we are doing right now, but because of the pandemic, there's nobody actually going to school right now, so we can't force anybody to use it. So we're testing it out and making it better. As soon as kids really start going to school, we will engage more parents to, use it and give us feedback. Try it out more. But right now, Fulton County School is online, and they're not full-time.
Mhm.
Understood.
Good. Yeah.
Did you have another comment, Michelle?
No, I was just going to say, as soon as the kids get back to school, heading from home, right, then we'll be able to test it. I know there's some talk that mid or late October they would open up an option for schools. Of course, it wouldn't be the full set of students, so not sure how much participation we would get there, but we'll have it to test, and definitely, I believe, in the January semester, we should be able to have this working for folks when they start walking to school.
Excellent. We've gotten a lot of questions here, so great. Thank you so much. Please feel free to ask these questions, and we'll do our best to get through them. Another question, did you all think about incentives for the children to encourage them to walk to school using the app, such as potentially free snacks at school or something like that?
Yeah, we thought of that. We had grand ideas in the beginning with having it be a full-on gamification of the app where, folks can track their steps and get prizes for how many miles per year they walked or what have you, but some of those features proved to be a next step in terms of dollar amounts. So we figured, maybe we won't have that extreme, but yes, we do have in there some sort of incentives in tracking your number of steps, which could lead to additional incentives. Anybody else wanted to add to that?
No?
Yeah, well, so we have the capability there, so so we can track it. It's not really going to be automated in this current version of the app, maybe in a future version, but right now the report, the admin, through the admin panel, we can get the number of times the students have taken trips, and we could potentially use that in newsletters from the school to show the top 10 students who have walked and so on. So.
Great. So kind of this is going to be the last question. It's kind of a combination of a couple different people. They're all kind of asking next steps and if and when this will be available to other communities and or other demographics or other opportunities such as senior citizen population or college students or just other school districts around the state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's our whole plan is, once we get this up and running for our test case, which is Milton, we want to be able to make it migrate to another school system. So right now we have a map in there that is Milton, surrounding the schools, etc. But we want this to be able to be transferable to other school districts throughout the state, throughout the country, etc. And anybody else can add. I like what you mentioned about migrating to other demographics. I'm not sure how that'll work, but maybe somebody else could see how that would work.
Yeah, something to think about, I guess. But I would like to float that, please, if anybody is interested, you can email us to walkingschooolbus@cityofmiltonga.us.
Mm-hmm. Did Dr.
Thanks
Ben
for
have
saying.
something?
And that'll be in the presentation slides as well. That will be. One. No? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for attending this afternoon's webinar. We really appreciate the Milton team showing us this application for walking to school. Very interesting, and I look forward to seeing its final development and use here once students actually go back to school and are able to start walking again. So again, thank you to the Milton team, and thank you for attending this afternoon. Again, please do join us next Thursday at noon for our final Georgia Smart Community final presentation. Next week will be Macon-Bibb County. So thank you everyone. That ends today's webinar.